Hi everyone, this is Killshot from 99 Gaming, and this is The Walking Dead Season 7 Negan Shoots Glenn death update. So I have been feverishly going through video to piece together the last few clues, and I think we are finally onto something. With 1 week to go, I know a lot of the pieces are starting to go together. In this video, I am going to show you exactly how Negan kills Abraham and shoots Glenn. We're also going to debunk a very popular theory that's been floating around, and we'll start with that right now. So you can see Eugene with his automatic weapon and Negan using the same weapon. There's no doubt about it, it is the same weapon. You can look at the strap on Rick's weapon. It's black. Eugene's was tan, but it doesn't mean that Eugene is a traitor, because you'd have to be nuts to think that Dwight would offer himself up in order to keep Eugene's cover from being blown. Eugene is still on the same team. Let's debunk that right now. There's no way that Eugene gave up any information. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time driving the RV, and they did punish him a little bit for it. So let's get to the kill scene so we can show you exactly how all this went down, the good, the bad, and also the heartbreaking parts of it. So scenario number one is that they don't move anybody. I know there's two different theories, and we're going to talk about both of them. So in this first scenario, you can see Abraham as the Lucille victim, and right beside Abraham is Maggie. The reason that's important to discuss this, Negan walks up, and let's just say he just starts chopping away. The continuation is in full effect. Maggie being right beside Rick would buffer the blood. So I know there's a lot of talk about the blood on Rick's face, why there's only a little bit. So if Maggie were beside Rick, then that blood is going to hit her. So we don't see her in any of the trailers. We assume she's still alive, but she could be completely covered in Abraham's blood. Once again, another shot of that. If Negan walks up, you can see the proximity, the space between each person. That would buffer it. And the fact that Rick is a little bit taller, maybe that's why it hits above his cheek. The problem with that theory is this. If Negan walks up and hits Abraham exactly where he's at, the pool of blood is where the red circle is, and then the square would signify Daryl's blanket. So I'm going to say that there's no way that they could keep them in that specific order exactly where they're at. I think they're going to screw up the continuation a little bit and change it up. Now, keep in mind, you can look, these are around 6 feet tall people. There's at least 20 feet between where Negan's at and the RV. You can look at multiple angles. You can see the people in the background. So with at least 3 full body lengths and then a little bit more of a 6 foot tall person, that's a little bit too much space to keep them in the original order. When Negan drags Rick up front, you can count 12 steps. So 12 steps are between 12 and 14 feet. So between 12 and 14 feet definitely tells me that Negan will make a selection, and he's going to pull 2 people up, just like in the comic. Bring them up. So who does he bring up? Let's take a look at it. You can see the black triangle on the right represents Rick. The taller triangle on the left represents Abraham. So I'm going to hypothesize that Negan will pick them and bring Rick and Abraham up. He wants Rick to be front and center as he beats down the biggest, toughest guy, his right-hand man, Abraham. He's going to put him right there, and there's nothing he can do about it. With a gun pointed at Carl, there's nothing that Rick can do to intervene. The low point of contact to me suggests there's multiple hits. You can still see the people in the background. So what happens? Daryl and Glenn simultaneously rush in. I know this is different than a lot of spoiling sites. They say Daryl jumps in and then Glenn is punished. They both jump in. Negan will pull out the pistol and shoot Glenn down. Daryl will be escorted to the side. You can see, once again, you can see where that would make sense. The blood spot, it would make sense where Daryl's blanket is. And the star over to the left is going to be exactly where Glenn is gunned down. And I know that wasn't shown in the trailer when they panned it out. They showed Abraham's blood. But you also heard Maggie talking to Glenn in the background. Now, I know this is going to upset a lot of comic fans because it's not epic enough. They want to see Glenn's epic beatdown. But actually, it's more epic than the comic, because in the comic, all Glenn could muster was Maggie. He couldn't say the things that he really wanted to say. And you've seen AMC the last couple weeks. They're developing this love story. So what could be better than Glenn getting shot, somewhat cognizant as he bleeds out, and dying in Maggie's arms as he gets to tell her all the things that he wanted to go through, all the flashbacks. That's where your flashback scene is going to come in, and ultimately a heartbreaking death, dying in Maggie's arms. Now, no, we don't want to see Glenn die, but it has to be this way. There has to be more to it than Glenn just being beat down to where he's just not cognizant of anything that's going on. And it also would complete the trifecta. Remember, Denise never got to tell Tara that she loved her. And in that scene where Denise took Abraham's death, there's a lot of deaths being switched. That was the one thing she regretted in the dialogue. Glenn is going to be able to say all the things to Maggie, and I think that's what's going to make it completely heart-wrenching. So Glenn will still get Lucille'd, technically. All these weapons that used to belong to Negan, they have the Lucille diagram inscribed onto them. These writers are so tricky when it comes to these Easter eggs. So Glenn can still die via Lucille. Makes perfect sense. Let me know your thoughts below. Moving forward, let's talk a little bit about the scene where Negan went up to Carl. He said, "You've got one of our guns." They focused on that so much, and then not only did he take the gun from Carl, he tucks the gun away, but the important part of this, and the thing that a lot of us missed, look at the direction of the gun. The gun is not facing right to left, it's facing left to right, which easily, he put it in with his left hand, he could pull it out with his left hand, aim over to the left, which is the direction that Glenn is coming from, and shoot Glenn down, and then the Maggie scene happens over a little bit later on. So once again, you can see Rick, Abraham pulled up front. He might actually start to swing at Rick and then twist, as I showed you in a previous video, and hit Abraham, and then you'll see Glenn and Daryl rush. Glenn is shot down where the white star is. So we're going to close with a little bit of bonus information because I know it's bothering a lot of people. They want to know, is Rick going to lose his hand? I've seen it all over YouTube, all over the internet. As soon as he got the axe and started taking him toward the RV, the rumor is going to be just like the comic book, he's going to cut off his right hand. Actually, that's not what is going to happen. So a few inside sources are actually commenting that Negan will take Rick, his hatchet, and the RV and go back to the place where the burning logs were on. He will take out Eugene's gun, put Rick out there, and cause a whole lot of noise, which is going to draw the walkers because he wants to see how Rick actually fends them off with his axe. And this is supposed to be the mind trick that he's playing on Rick. So let me know your thoughts. Will Rick make it back to the group? Because as Negan took him to the RV, he says, "I'll be right back. Rick may be with me." Leave your thoughts, comments below. My name is Killshot. Peace.